Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Good Sport Reviews YouTube channel. Now, I said yesterday we're going to do a lot more of these streams in between the list videos going up because there is plenty to discuss. If you haven't done it already, go check out the video put out earlier today, which is every single Liverpool home kit ranked from worst to best in the Premier League era. But talking about Liverpool, we've got a huge match this weekend, a must-win game in the Premier League. Liverpool taking on Aston Villa on Saturday, and there's no one better who I could bring on than Luke Robinson of UTV, Up the Villas TV, or no, I'm getting that completely wrong. It's Up the Villas, it's UTV. The TV thing threw me off. But if you haven't gone to see his channel already, make sure you go subscribe to it because, this channel is everything to do with football. It's not just a Liverpool channel. Aston Villa is a big thing that we've discussed in the past, and there's no better Aston Villa fan channel on YouTube than UTV. So make sure you go and subscribe to it. Luke, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. Great to be on here.
Thank you very much. I mean, to be honest, it was as soon as I was thinking about doing this fixture, your one was the first one that I wanted to go to. You've been on like the Overlap, Cop TV Today. You've been on so many different things, and you're one of these channels that I think you're very unbiased in your opinion when it comes to discussion on teams. And we're going to talk about Liverpool later on, but I'm really curious more so to get what your thoughts are on Aston Villa because without a doubt, and I think it's about hyperbole, you've been one of the most exciting teams over the past 2 years. The trajectory that you've gone on from Steven Gerrard having you just above the relegation zone or just in the relegation zone to suddenly being in Champions League football for the first time in years. Like, how's it been this past 2 years as a Villa fan?
Yeah, it's been a dream, to be fair. The best time I've had supporting Villa in my lifetime. We've been able to, like you mentioned, climb the table. We've been able to get Europa Conference League in Emery's first half a season. Then we got Champions League in his full season. So it's just been brilliant. And what he's been able to do to our football club, literally transform it from top to bottom. He's sort of like the top dog. He's running the show in football at the minute. There's a lot of head coaches, but Unai Emery is the manager of Aston Villa. He's brought in his own sporting director, Monchi, from Seville. He's sort of got this Spanish revolution working there behind the scenes as well. And it's just gone from strength to strength, and we're doing really well. We've been able to keep most of our best players, albeit we had to sell Douglas Luiz for PSR. And we're fun, exciting to watch. And he's brought a sense of like gravitas to the club, it's still pretty early, but like the Fergie era, Klopp era, it feels like we could have something like that bubbling. Now, I'm not saying we're going to be as successful as those managers, but it does feel like he's the guy that can potentially lead us for a number of years rather than having a new manager every 3 years and trying to find your way and trying to have a new project. It feels like this is like proper now and we mean a bit of business.
Yeah, I mean, you be honest. Like, was there a bit of a surprise when Unai Emery was the manager that you brought in the door after getting rid of Steven Gerrard?
No, I mean, what it felt like was when we had Dean Smith and he took us through from the Championship to the Premier League. He stabilised us in the Premier League. It felt like we'd got really wealthy owners who are absolutely amazing at what they've done for Aston Villa. And it felt like we needed to go to that next level. We needed that manager that can take us to that next bit. It felt like for whatever Dean Smith did, he wasn't ever going to get us where we want to go to. So we needed this manager, and we took a risk with Gerrard. It was a risk because he was doing good at Rangers. He'd won the league, etc. And we took that risk with him and it didn't work. And then, we still had that ambition to be that club that want to challenge and get into Europe. And we managed to get Emery. And I think Emery turned down Newcastle about 6 months before he came to Villa. And I think he had the chat with one of our owners, Nassef Swariri's, and he said, do what you want. You can literally do what you want. And Emery was like, okay, because that's where I feel like he's not failed as a manager in the past, but he didn't have complete control at Arsenal. He wouldn't have complete control at PSG. But at Villa, he has got that control, and that's what's one of the big things about why he's successful at Villa. So we wanted a big name, and we was able to go out and get it. And I think he's doing a great job.
Mm. No, definitely. And like you can't your club did what I think Arsenal fans are starting to feel like they need to do now in an extent, or some of them are, where Arteta has taken them to a certain level. I think Dean Smith did that with you, like you rightfully said. He's then taken the leap. The club have made that ambitious move to go get Emery, and that seems like something that Arsenal maybe needs to do at the moment, and perhaps look at developing the club further with Edu leaving and Arteta maybe reaching a limit, so to speak. And with Villa, it feels like you've had one of the most calculated ascendancies up the Premier League with regards to your transfer business, the players you've brought in, the way you've gone about dealing with everything. And it's mental to think that 6, 7 years ago you were in the Championship. What do you think's been the main factor in getting the club from where it was in the Championship to where it is in the Premier League now?
I think a steady foundation and the ability to grow. When we was in the Championship, we were scrambling around there with some poor results, etc. It didn't go well to start with, but we had a good base, and Dean Smith was able to utilize the players that he got and the experience that he got, and we started recruiting quite well. We started bringing in players like Matty Cash, Ollie Watkins, Ezri Konsa, who's one of the most underrated defenders going, for his age and what we bought him in for. And those players have been John McGinn, 2.5 million. Those players have gone on this journey, and then we've added players of better quality. A couple of seasons later, we add more players of better quality, and we've just sort of built these building blocks and just continually been able to progress. But Emery's one of the big things because, and this is what I've been speaking about this week about Arne Slot, is that good managers can coach players and get the best out of players and can raise their level. Now, I will touch on Liverpool in a bit, I guess, so I won't spoil when we get to that bit. But, that ability to get every ounce of every single player's ability and take them to a really high level is just something what Emery's been able to do. And, hopefully it continues.
Well, I think it's definitely, it continued at the start of the season to, like, in the nicest way to put it. Like, because to be honest, you were flying at the beginning, barring the Arsenal game. I think you went on like a massive undefeated streak, but the recent form has left people wondering, what's going on? Has Emery's flash in the pan sort of been, or is this just an issue with the club itself? Like, what do you contribute to the recent results since the Palace game? Like, what's been going on in that regard?
So the game before Palace, we played Bournemouth, and they just beat Arsenal, and we were really good at home. We were the better team. I thought that was going to be a tough game because they're playing so well. And we're the better team. We went 1-0 up with about 15 minutes to go. We started doing like weird fouls, and they score a last-minute goal, last kick of the game, and we draw that game. So it feels like from there, something weird's happened. But we then played Palace, and basically we chuck it. We played only two starters in McGinn and I can't remember who else. McGinn and Bailey, it might have been. And then everyone else was rested. Players weren't even in the squad. So Power weren't in it. Watkins wasn't in it. Onana was injured. Like, nobody played. It was just like our C team. So then you're thinking, okay, that's not good. We've lost the game there. And then we go and lose to Spurs. And first half, we were pretty good. We were doing a job on them. It was classic Villa of how we play. Really solid, what we want to do. 1-0 up at half time. And then we just capitulate in the second half. And then Bruges, we were bad. We were really bad. So it feels bad that we've lost 3 games in a row, but they're all in different competitions. It's not like we've lost 3 in the Premier League. We only lost 1 in the Premier League. So, but the 3 losses in a row aren't great, because the big thing about Emery, what he's good at Villa, is that we don't lose consecutive games. We're really consistent. So, yeah, it's a bit of a worry because of the way that we're playing, and the Bruges game was bad. But, I think we'll be fine. We've got a good manager. We just need to reset a little bit, take stock, and just keep going, really.
Yeah. And like you said then, Emery, he doesn't lose consecutive games. And actually, if you look back to last season, there was no point where you did actually lose consecutive games. When United won 3-2, unbeaten for 2 games, you then lost to Villa, 1 win against Sheffield, and then it was a loss again. So you're right in that regard. Like, it does feel like Emery is a sort of a mastermind of getting things back to, like, getting the momentum back on track. But this season, what's been the noticeable difference in terms of the team? Because like I'm not a huge stats person, but I was looking through them earlier on, and it feels like Villa at points, when the opposition's got the ball, there's a certain reluctance to try and win it back. And the Aston Villa team in general is the second lowest in ball recoveries, the fourth lowest in tackles won, and they actually have the lowest win percentage of aerial duels per 90. Is that something that's been noticeable, or is this just something that, if you look at the stats, you are reading a bit too much into it?
I think the way that we play, I mean, we're still early in our tenure with Unai Emery. We're only in our second
Hmm.
season, so we aren't the finished article. And I think
Yeah.
that's what I reiterate a lot of the times on my channel, that we're not sort of like 5, 6 years down the road and we're expecting Champions League we're not there yet. We're trying to compete and we're trying to get there. And I think our style of play is, it's really bold, really, that we go out, we try and control games, we try and have all of the ball, we try and have it on our terms for a full 90. And I just think at times, you are right, we do get caught on transition sometimes. And I think because we want the game to be sometimes a bit of a plateau nature, we do lose our way, especially this season, especially against Bruges, with that intensity and that little bit of aggression. So I think
Mm.
that is something that Emery's probably going to work on, because I think we do need to up it in that aspect. But I think we've just got to just get back on track, really. And you mentioned one thing about, what's the difference, is we are lacking a little bit of pace in our team as well, especially out wide. We sold DRB, we've not
Mm.
really replaced DRB, so I think that's probably an area as well. But I think Emery will know it. He'll know what he needs to do, and he'll just work it out, basically, because it's what he's like. Like I say, and the funny thing is, like, last season we lost to Spurs, we got battered at home against Spurs, and
Yeah.
the big thing about us is we are really consistent, and I'd probably still say we could still possibly finish above Spurs, even though they smashed us. We'll probably be more consistent over the course of the season. So it is a little bit weird how, sometimes we'll have a little bit of a mare, but we do back it up at times.
No, and you're absolutely right. And to be fair, if you look through this season or this patch of the season currently, it's not like you've lost and everyone else has gained ground on you. City have lost, Arsenal have lost, Tottenham are losing games, yourselves have lost games. Like, everyone is dropping points currently. Like, so it's not like you've lost the pack or you're out of the pack. You're still there. You're in the
Yeah,
exact same position essentially.
I think we're in sixth place and we're level on points with
Yes.
fourth.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. So
like,
it, yeah.
do you know what I mean? We're not doing that bad.
No, God, no. And to be honest, Villa has become this game that every season now I'm nervous to play. And it's weird. Like, I was looking back through the results before, and in the last 11 games, Villa have actually only won two, that being the 5-0 in the League Cup when we were playing the Club World Cup, and the 7-2, which we don't speak about. But
We
the
do.
no, yeah, I'm sure you do. I don't. It's way at the back for me. But like, it's you always seem to cause us problems. The season we won the league, we just about scraped through. Last season, you were a nightmare for us. And Villa always seem to have this sort of rugged, like, we're not gonna, we don't care where we are, if it's Anfield or Villa Park, we are gonna give it a go. Going forward to the game on Saturday, do you think that that's still going to be? Is this a good time to be playing us now that you've got a point to prove after the Bruges and the Tottenham games, etc.? Or is this probably the worst time to be playing us, given us the form that we're currently on at the minute?
Well, knowing how Emery applies himself for every game, he wants to win every single game, and that's his
Yeah.
mindset. And we are a good team. Like we've shown in Emery's tenure so far that we can beat anybody. You know, we absolutely smashed Man City to pieces at Villa Park last year. We beat Arsenal home and away. We've beat Bayern Munich at home this, so we can compete at a really high level. So I think, you know, I'm wary of this game because, you know, we've lost 3 in a row. So obviously, as a football fan, you're gonna be like, oh god, like 4 in a row, like. But I think you touched on just about, you know, our record at times. I think Watkins plays Van Dijk really well. And I think Watkins
Mm,
enjoys playing against Van Dijk. Watkins did an interview, I think it was this season or last season. He was talking about playing against centre backs, and he actually mentioned Van Dijk, and he said, you know, I do get a bit of joy against Van Dijk, and I think they've got this little bit of. I don't think it's like every game, but I think it's a bit of like to-ing and throwing, and I think
yeah.
he enjoys that challenge. So I think Watkins relishes playing against Liverpool because I think he knows he can work Van Dijk
With
around a little bit with
Facing
his pace
behind.
and yeah, running behind and stretching Canate and Van Dijk and etc. So I think that battle's probably normally pretty good. I think so yeah, I think that battle sort of would give us a little bit of hope going into it. And I think um, you know, I've been watching you this season, and I think you've been amazing. But there are times where you sometimes start a little bit slow, and you grow
Hmm.
into the games a little bit. So, you know, if we can nick a goal or something, or try and something like that. So, yeah, I think it will be interesting. But I think you are obviously favourites at Anfield to win, so it's going to be difficult for Villa to get anything out of the game.
You see, I never looked at it as Watkins like would enjoy playing Van Dijk, but to be fair, every time we play Watkins, he's such a nightmare, and he's been your. Would you say best player this season? He's exceeding his XG at the minute by 0.2. He's on 5 goals. He's only expected 4.8. So, given despite the recent form, has Watkins still been the best player for Villa overall?
No, the best player has been Tielemans. He's
Oh
been
wow!
our best
Right.
player by a mile. Like he's stepped up and performing in that Douglas Luiz role. He's controlling games and he's playing really well. Watkins at the minute, I'll be honest, he's not actually playing the best. To be fair, his touch is
Mm.
evaporating. It's
He
like
didn't look great
he's
against Tottenham.
no, and his touch was terrible against Bruges. So he just needs to sort of get back on track a little bit. But yeah, Tielemans has been really good. Rogers, really good, really powerful. You know, dribbling ability. You know, in
Mm.
between the lines, and he's been really good as well. So I'd say Rogers or Tielemans.
Well, it's the way we play at the minute is predominantly we want the ball in the middle. So I suppose having Tielemans as the best player this season is going to really benefit because that's where I think the battle's going to be won this Saturday. Is your midfield in that Tottenham game in the first half was unplayable. Like it was absolutely fantastic, and that's where we thrive the most this season. If Villa are to get any joy from this match, and that's not saying it at all as in, oh, you know, Villa don't have a chance. Like, how are Villa? What is the best way to break down this Liverpool team in terms of getting a result against us at Anfield?
I think it's probably on transition when you're sort of setting your style a little bit and trying to break quickly. You know, I think if we can try and split the two centre halves or get in behind one of the fullbacks if they've
Mm,
gone forward, I do actually think we're probably gonna go a little bit defensive maybe to start with.
mm,
I just think with the way we've been playing at the minute, we're a little bit open and we sort of kind of getting caught a little bit. So I think the way we played against Bayern Munich, you know, it was really compact, really organised. We've got, you know, we had a young lad called Jaden who started on the right wing and he really helped double up on the fullbacks. We can drop into sort of like a 6 at the back and where our two sort of like wingers will drop in and help out. And I think we might do something like that and then try and grow into the game and, you know, try and get Rogers on the ball, dribbling and then, you know, breaking through with his powerful runs. So that's probably how I would see the game going if I was trying to suggest how Villa will get something from it. But we do like to play out from the back. We like to knock it around. I mean, you know, I've watched you against Brighton and you've got Szoboszlai who's really involved in your press at the minute. So, you're pressing with that sort of like front four, which I think if you can sometimes navigate that front four and find space and try and then hit on those seven,
Yeah, yeah.
three midfielders and the four defenders, then I think you've got into a phase where you've got Liverpool players that are running towards their own goal. So I think that area is something that I would try and look to do if I was Emery, but I'm not Emery, but yeah, that's just something that I've noticed.
Yeah, there's definitely gaps. Like Szoboszlai is very. I think he's had a bit of a poor season, but it's his pressing that's the main asset of him. And I think you're absolutely right that there can be gaps in midfield. Brighton in that first half were all over us. Bayer Leverkusen at points the other night were all over us. And I suppose as well, one thing that Villa have got is it's not like we're playing those teams where it's the starting 11 is the main feature, and then as soon as players come on, they wane. You've got depth in that Villa squad, despite injuries and everything that's been going on. Like you've got options, and John Duran in particular is honestly, he's one of the best super subs I've seen in so long. Will he have an impact on this match, especially towards the end when tired legs start kicking in? And you said earlier on that Watkins likes playing against Van Dijk because of the way he plays. Is there a role for John Duran in this match, the same sort of way that he plays?
Well, we saw at Villa Park last season, didn't we, that John Duran
Yeah.
came on and salvaged us a point. He came on and got 2 goals. That's John Duran. That's what John Duran does. They won't play together. So they've been trying to play together, but that's not working at the minute. So I don't think you'll see them start the game. That might come on, but I'd very doubt it based on what I saw against Bruges. But yeah, he's very unpredictable. He's very raw. And yeah, he's doing well. From a player that wanted to leave to how he's impacted this season, he's a massive threat. Like, you give him an opportunity and he'll absolutely bury it. So yeah, if the game's tight and John Duran comes on, what we have seen this season is that games have been sort of some of them have been tight, and John Duran comes on, and you can just tell the away fans that are at Villa Park are thinking, "Oh my God, it's him! He's coming on!" And he just smacks one top corner like he did against Everton or Bayern Munich. So yeah, but he's a massive threat because every content creator always goes, "What about John Duran?" So
Yeah.
everyone knows what he's like. So I imagine that when he comes on the pitch, the opposition players are thinking, "Oh my God, here we go. What's he gonna do?" So yeah, he's fun to watch, and yeah, he's for his age, he's doing really well.
Where did you sign him from again? I can't remember where you got him from.
Um, Chicago Fire, I think. Yeah, Chicago Fire. Auckland. Yeah, Chicago Fire, I think it was.
That's ridiculous that he's just coming from the MLS and he's doing that. Like, that's ludicrous that he's scoring the goals that he is. And I find it so funny the way you're like, oh yeah, got the winner against Everton and then Bayern Munich. Like, it's such a contrast. And like you said then that Watkins and Duran, why is it that they can't play together? What is it, the system, or is it just those two don't link together?
Yeah, that they don't link together, and I think it's the system. So what you'll see is that we play 4-4-2. So we've got 2 central midfielders, 2 either side that aren't. One's a
Mhm.
winger, and the one on the left would be, say, Ramsey, and then the width from the left comes from the full back on the left hand side. So we're trying to make up a front 5. The player that plays alongside Watkins will drop. So in essence, he'll act as like a number 10 that makes up a box midfield. Now, when Duran and Watkins are on, they don't drop. They both stay hugging the 2 centre halves, and they stay high. And then we end up losing a little bit of our way with central midfield because, like I said earlier, one of our best players is Morgan Rogers, and you compare him to Duran, they're completely different players, and so
Mm.
you lose that side of it. But when sort of say we're creating a lot of chances, we're on top, they're better when they're played together with, say, 10 minutes to go because the chances are coming. But I think sometimes when the chances aren't coming, when you play them both together, it doesn't quite work, and you lose that little bit of cohesion, really.
Yeah, I think that's probably what I've noticed as well at points. And like Villa, we said before, you touched on like you want to have control of the ball. You're a possession-based team, and against Tottenham, I think at points that was sort of an undoing. I think it was the third goal. It got passed off to them, and then that's when the goal stems from it. Against our attack, who I'd say at the moment we've maybe got the best attack in the league on form with Diaz and Gakpo, Salah, Nunez is sort of there, but where is the danger for you in terms of the way that you play and the players that we've got? Where's the main issue going to come from that could derail your team if there was one?
I think it'll come out wide in the wide areas. I think switching on from sort of like cutbacks or crosses that go deep, allowing sort of runners to get the upper hand on us. If you go back to the Spurs game, and you're thinking we were quite tight for 45, and then when you start playing that intricate work around the box, and we just have a tendency to sort of like lose our concentration. Like Matty Cash, I thought in the first half was brilliant against Son. He was so aggressive. Son didn't win a thing. And I was really pleased with how Cash played in the first half. And then the first minute in the second half, we sit off Son. We allow him to get across into the box, and Brennan Johnson scores. And it's like all that intensity that we had in the first half, you haven't done it, and they've gone and scored. So those type of moments are something that we're really struggling with at the minute. So I'd probably say in those areas, really.
Yeah. And how would Luca Digne do against the Mo Salah, who he's on pretty good form at the minute? And Luca Digne, I suppose, like you said, against Brennan Johnson, there was moments where he did sort of struggle. So how is he going to cope in this type of match?
A bit like, this is probably going to backfire, but a bit like the Van Dijk scenario with Watkins. I think he plays him okay normally.
Okay.
Salah and Luca Digne, I think he does him okay, I think. I remember the game against Villa Parks. This is what I'm referencing as well. The game at the end of last season, I felt like Luca Digne really won that battle and kept Salah quiet. So I think he's okay, really. He wouldn't be my biggest worry. It'd probably be on the opposite side with what we're probably going to have to do over there, because Cash is out. So it might be Consa going there, who's good 1v1. But then that means that a centre-half like Diego Carlos, who's hit and miss, but generally turns up in the big games. So I think our back line gets reshuffled a little bit, which causes a little bit of a problem. So I think Digne, I'm all right with it. I mean, I'm not saying like he's going to keep Salah quiet, but I think I know I have. But yeah, I think he's okay normally.
Yeah. So what's the starting 11? Just to sort of give it just to round up for the last like 5 minutes or so, what's the starting 11 that you're going to be going for, and what's the reason for it for each of those picks, if there is one?
Yeah, so we'll go Martinez in goal.
Yeah.
Standard. We'll go with Luca Digne. We'll go with Pau Torres, Carlos and Consa. So back four, what you'll see is Luca Digne adding the width on the left-hand side. Back three, sort of like tucking in. I think the double pivot's interesting, but I'll go with Tielemans and Onana. Onana sat out the game against Bruges, so I think he'll probably be straight back in to the lineup. Or he could give Kamara another start, but I think he'll probably go with Onana, being that he didn't start against Bruges. On the left, I'll go with Ramsey. I think Ramsey's got to start performing for Villa. He's a really good ball carrier. On the right, which is a tough one because Bailey's not in form, but I think he might go Jadon, a young lad who tactically was really good against Bayern Munich. And I think for the way that we're probably going to set up, I think defensively, Emery probably can rely on him to do that defensive work better than what Bailey can. If we're still in the game, bring Bailey on, and then I'll go Rodgers and Watkins. So I think it's near enough full strength for Villa, but I think with Jadon in there, you'll get that more defensive now. So I think that's probably what I would do. We have got other options like Kamara could play. You've got Buendia, but that some of them just aren't quite cutting it at the minute. So I think I'd go back to that. McGinn, McGinn could be good in the middle, but again, he's not playing the best either. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of options what we could do, but we've got to find that balance between creating and being efficient and being resolute and defensive at the back.
I mean, that team has a lot of attacking options, and I want to quickly touch on John McGinn. Like, what has gone on with John McGinn? Because last season, I think he overperformed. I don't think anyone could really have expected him to have the season that he did, or that's just my opinion of it. He came out of nowhere, so to speak. But this season, he's just not having the same effect. Now, is that because there's no Douglas Luiz, who I think he benefited from at points maybe last season, or is it just the system? Like, what's going on with him at the moment?
I think if you asked me what his best position was, I don't think I'd be able to tell you because he plays everywhere. He can play in the double pivot as the deep player. He can play as the one that's sort of getting on the ball a bit more. Against Spurs, he played on the right, so where Leon Bailey plays. Against Bruges, he played off Watkins. He can play on the left. He can play in all these different positions. Like, he's really versatile, but he's not quite locking in a position. And you're saying John McGinn plays there, and that's where John McGinn is going to play in this game. He could play anywhere in this game across that midfield. And that's just, but you need to have consistency and you need to have that bit of cohesion. And I think that's probably why we're not as fluid as what we were last season. Last season, you'd go double pivot, Kamara, Luiz. Then you'll go on the left. He's probably going to be McGinn. Tielemans could be off Watkins, or Diaby can be off Watkins, and Bailey's on the right. And that was our team. Whereas this season, it's like we've got Onana, but Barkley can play. We've got Bailey or Jaden. We've got Rodgers or Ramsey. We've got all these different options. And I think Emery just needs to lock in his 11 and just go with that for a little bit, because I think I wouldn't say he's trying to be clever, but I think he's trying to manage the season with the squad. And I think we're kind of losing track on what our core 11 is and the consistency of 11. So, yeah, you've asked me what the lineup is, but it could be anything.
Tom McGinn, we're going to end up as the centre back for this particular match. He's a sort of a jack of all trades, but a master of none sort of thing.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking forward to this match. I'm not. I think our starting 11 is going to dictate how we're approaching this game, because I don't think Andrew Robertson's going to particularly start. I think Tsimikas probably will. I think if Diaz starts through the middle instead of Nunez, based on that Leverkusen game, I think there's a lot of we're going to go central. We're going to go through the middle rather than playing it out wide. So it's a really weird one. And Villa is a team that I absolutely hate playing. With all this in mind, with everything that's gone on, what are you predicting for the score now? I just to sort of, I understand that this is probably going to be a Villa win, but do you think that this is going to be a game where Villa comfortably do it if they do win, or is this going to be one of those games where, I don't know, you struggle for a bit, but then a John Duran late winner comes on and gets it? What type of scoreline are you predicting from this?
I'll go positive-ish, and I'll go with a 2-2. I think the fact that it's on at 8:00 on a Saturday night, it smells like chaotic mess. I think it's just gonna be carnage, just one of them games where it's just all over the place. It's attacking, it's defending, it's wild. I've just got a wild game in my mind, and I don't know whether John Duran comes on and scores an equaliser in 90+5 or something, but that's how I see it. It's probably either going to be something like that, or we're probably going to lose about 3-1.
I mean, you'll definitely score. I've got a weird feeling that you are going to probably score based on the way that you've been going. And we start off slow at points, and I think we're really going to struggle against the quick attack that you've got. I'm going to go for, I think 2-2. I don't see us getting much of a win against Villa, to be honest. I think you're the worst team to be playing just before an international break on bad form, because I feel as though with City and Arsenal, they're losing games, but they know, look, we're probably going to win more down the line. I think Villa have a lot to prove in terms of you've got a squad capable of getting Champions League football again. You've done it once. I don't think you're going to be like a Newcastle where you don't, and then the next season you sort of drop off. Because you can get that Champions League, because other teams around you are dropping points, I think Villa are really going to go for it. And I do think that you're probably going to get the 2-2 draw. That'd be my idea as well, anyway, if there was one. And just before we leave, have you got anything that you want to say? Anything that you want to promote? Anything you want to push for the people watching or the people who will be watching?
No, just check the channel out. Really, we do a lot of good stuff on there. I think so. You know, we've had got some good guests. We had AGT from Cop TV. We've got Abigail Rudkin on tomorrow. So we've got plenty of Liverpool guests going to be coming on. So just check it out. Really.
Make sure you go subscribe to UTV. If you haven't done so already, head over there and give them a watch. And also make sure to subscribe to this channel while you're there. We want to try and get to 3,000 by the end of the year. The live streams are coming in between the regular videos. And go check out my last video where I've ranked every single Liverpool Premier League home kit from worst to best. From myself and Luke, thank you very much for joining me, mate. I really do appreciate it. And we will see you on Saturday for Liverpool.